aware without needing to think about anything. This is like an awareness thing, or a thing of no things. Not nothing is like a void. That's just another thing, like the idea of nothing. But what is nothing that isn't based on an idea of nothing? What is nothing that cancels out itself? Anyways, I went to some of these non-duality teachers and I said, you know, you are lacking in artistic integrity. So what does that have to do with me and you? Give irrelevance to thoughts. Give irrelevance to the thoughts that have happened and the thoughts that have come up in the past, in the present, and maybe in the future. Who here says that you are owed thoughts? Who is here saying that you have a contract with the future? Who told you that? Who told you that you have a contract with the future? I want to know. We're building something here. Okay, that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's especially what Shiva, Kailash, Shambho doesn't understand, because his mind is the size of a peanut and he can't think farther than his own ego. But my intentions and my motivations are deep and mysterious, Shiva, Kailash, Shambho. Do you understand that? Mm-hmm. So we are building something here. And when I place my hand on the button and I'm ready to press, your credit score better be in the 700s. When I say go, you better be ready to go. Loans, credit cards, gold bullion. Coming to Thailand, coming to Myanmar, coming to Vietnam, coming to wherever we have to go, coming to India with gold bullion, with credit cards, with loans. As we enable the unraveling. So if you haven't already, please make sure that your credit score is in order. Okay? My credit score is not fixable, so you fix your credit score. Somebody's popping ads? Hold on. Sorry, we're gonna get rid of the ads, everybody. This is 100% supported by people like you, participants. What does that mean? Williams, Weeble Wobble. Let's get some W's in the chat for everybody that's here, okay? Who's here? W's in the chat, everybody. We are not monetizing this in any way.
Yeah, I did that, I think. Yeah.
Get it up, Chelsea. When I hit that button, I want I want you on a flight with $10,000 in gold bullion.
Monetization.
Oh, yeah. Activate. Everybody, activate. Activate. Everybody, activate. What does that mean? What does that mean to activate? Don't think. I will program you. I will manipulate you. I am manipulating you. I am planting seeds of intentionality in you. I am an overseer. I am a manipulator. I am a controller. I am a controller. I am creating conflux moments. I am manipulating your mind. I am manipulating your intentions. I am controlling you. Convulse, 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 convulse. This is a conflux moment. This is a transitional conflux moment. As the coffee enters my bowels, they deem release to be suitable, and I accept. There is no controller or anyone to be controlled. Breathing in. Breathing out. See, this is the kind of environment that I'm talking about. Shiva, you feel blessed, don't you? You feel protected, don't you? You feel a purity and a sanctity of the spaciousness of this environment, don't you? This is a very rich psychosphere, isn't it, Shiva?
Yes.
Because there's no motherfucking schedule. There's no expectation of a fucking schedule. We don't play that shit here. We don't play that fucking game here. Silence, space, air, nature, natural principles. You put on Fox News, turn that shit the fuck off. Because I'm teaching the Dhamma. And this is setting the standards. This is setting the standards for the way of awareness. Okay? You want to watch Fox News? You better watch out, because you will turn that fucking shit off when I'm around. Or else. You want to be a part of this community? I want to talk about something. And I'm sorry for the inaccessibility, but I can't do that. You know, I mean, what am I supposed to be doing? And you know, I wish the best for people, but the world doesn't work like that. Buddha wasn't going and chasing people down. Pascal Ramel says Shiva is stuck by his in this weak position by this manipulator. Feel the awareness. Tune into the awareness. Tune into the non-thinking mind, the non-intellectual mind of presence, of awareness. How to disconnect here. Maybe I'm being hacked. If someone's hacking me, please stop. Okay, everybody, we're back. I'm sorry, it looks like I was hacked for a moment. Please do not hack me. I'm a good person, trying to be a better person. And, you know, I like to have a good time too, so I think we can probably get along, whoever the hackers are. Whoever the hackers could be. There's nobody anywhere, friends. Come back to awareness. Okay, Z Master says, I know what non-dual means. Well, okay, but what does Buddhism absurdism mean? So, Non-duality is absurd by any conventional position. Buddhism is about non-duality, the highest form of non-duality. Buddhism is the most well-established tradition of non-duality that's ever existed. So we can play word games, or we can see that things themselves are game. And if you're concerned with non-duality, you better not be following a script, because that's ridiculous. And I went into a Zoom meeting with Alexis and this guy Tobias last night, and I basically confronted them, and they couldn't take the heat, and they kicked me out. They threw me out of there. Maybe we can find the video of that. Alexis, and what I said to them, and you all can hear that. But this Alexis is running for me like a trans person runs from gender reassignment surgery according to their original birth certificate. So I don't see the stream there. They might have took it down, not had it open. So I'm not going to go too much into that, because the awareness is kind of more important. The import is on the awareness rather than the things. But in terms of the things that relate to the awareness, certain things seem to come up now. And that certain things seeming to come up now builds up this false principle that certain things come up at certain times. But there's no information now, there's no experience now to say that there are certain times or certain things outside of the uncertainty of knowing that is clearly not based on things. So there's in terms of where you would find things, or where you would find things, it would be a you finding things through the sense doors, like finding things through seeing, like this thing, that thing, etc. But the seeing itself does not thingify. There's no such things as things in seeing. So just seeing is an open field of vision that is thingless. Somebody might want to write that one down. That's a pretty good one. Okay? I don't want to rush anybody on the book, but I'm really looking forward to it myself. I'm excited about it. It's okay, you two. You both are good, okay? Just relax. Be good. Be quiet. Okay? We don't play those games here. And some of these things, because of the profoundness of my being and my depth of non-duality, you're gonna have to go back and listen to that again and write that down and take a look at that. What was this guy saying? You know, a lot of people say, you know, Dr. Rob is very insincere. Well, I would say that I'd like to see you compare my sincerity with someone else. How do you compare sincerity? How do you judge sincerity? I'd like to know. Might be interesting to know about how a person judges someone else's sincerity. Okay? The time has come and gone. But look, the invitation here, and once again, laid back Zach, says there are just easier ways to describe non-duality than that. Oh, it has nothing to do with being convinced about something. And this is the problem with a lot of non-duality teachers and their work, and what I call a lack of artistic integrity, is that they're not aligning themselves supposedly with any kind of system of belief or structure, and yet their structure is fully presented. The structure of contrived, repetitive words and phrases following a seemingly certain schema that was handed down to them by someone else. So as an artist, I'd like to consider myself to have a high degree of artistic integrity. So instead of disassociating into this kind of inhuman watcher on the wall, commenter, thinker, judger, actually look into your own bodily experience right now. You see what I'm saying? Like, how does your body feel right now? You fucking dummy loser. You fucking bitch. You fucking follower. You fucking consumer. You fucking loser. You fucking stalker. You fucking addict. You fucking hopeless, meaningless fucking freak. Look into your experience of the body. Feel that. Stop perpetuating this kind of parasocial fake structure of thinking about me and you and what's going on that you then comment and are involved with as if you're like a part of a book or something like that. Actually look into your direct experience right now. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. And that's the difference between me and a lot of spiritual content creators or a lot of spiritual teachers, is that most of my adult life has been spent living in community. Most of my adult life has been living in spiritual community under the direction and guidance of meditation masters. Real gurus, real people who've been monks for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, etc. So when it comes to me, community isn't a notion or a kind of a thought or kind of a brand. Community is a lived experience for me. And I take it very, very seriously. I'm very open and welcome to, people with different energies and varying degrees of physical attractiveness to live together, with me, to be around me. But when it comes down to it, there's no other place and time. So this is a timeless, placeless field of fieldless awareness. That is not what I just said, nor is it not what I just said, nor is it not what I just said, or even sounds becoming not thoughts. So what is a sound that seems to be a word that is not a thought? What is a sound that is not a word that is not a thought? Perhaps something would seem to be something that's not understood. But what if that thing is thinglessness? What if that thing is nothing? So it would make sense to say, well, it's a thing called nothing. Doesn't make any sense. The notion of nothing is that it's already not a thing. No. Saying no to things. How do you say no to things? That's where no I is found in the real true person, in the real true story. I don't know why more people don't celebrate me and kind of praise me for that phrasing. Has anybody here ever heard that phrasing before? A real true person and a real true story? Do a deep dive, do a deep search and see if I picked that up from somewhere. Because that is very direct and very potent. Very clear. There is no real true person in a real true story. And nobody ever seems to be able to have a conversation about that. And instead of returning in that awareness, of that awareness, we find some kind of like retard shit to get involved with. I'm certainly not coming against people with disabilities, and I'm not coming against anybody particularly, but it's like what's being presented and what's kind of being pointed to and said about is very like accessible, communicable, right? We can communicate about it. But instead of communicating about it or returning to awareness, it's like there's some, like I need to be a retard. Like there's something that pops up in people's head that says I need to act like I'm literally retarded right now. And I think that this has a lot to do with social isolation. I know it has a lot to do with jealousy and envy. But trust me, there's no way that you could be envious of me. You would be crazy to be envious of me. And now someone's going to come up and say that as if I just didn't say that. That's what I'm talking about, just continuously jumping on like retard shit. Just do very, very retarded positions that don't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense not just from the framework of like that position by itself, because that position by itself also doesn't make any sense because it's just like an ego comment on a TikTok video that's 5 years old, right? But it's you making that comment and taking this position of yourself socially that doesn't make any sense. What position are you taking? And why are you taking that position here? Like, what are you doing? I need to go around and complain and call people out. Huh? What? it doesn't matter if I'm interested in something or not. I need to make sure that the people that that are online are, called out about these things. What? What are you doing? I need to make sure that, because, well, there's a lot of people watching this, and they're not going to be confused by a guy like you, not when I'm here. So I'll come up, I'll share, I'll say what I gotta say, and I'll move on. You're lucky I'm even here to begin with. I mean, what's going on, right? And then also no one's allowed to say, okay, let's stop for a moment and ask what's going on. We're also not allowed to do that. Let's stop and let's check in and let's take a look. Hey Gemini. Okay, Google. All right, Google, turn on a Chinese accent voice, very low level English, but high Chinese affect and accent because, first time in America, and use that tonality to, let's say, 75%. And then I got a question I want to ask you.
I cannot change my voice or accent like that. However, I am ready to answer your question in my standard voice. What you would like to know?
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so I just want to know how much would it cost for a 20 to 22 karat gold chain, at least a pound. It has to be at least a pound of gold. How much does that cost of 20 karat gold or 22 karat gold?
The price of gold can change quite a lot depending on the market, and a 1 pound chain can be very heavy. Also, 20 to 22 karat gold is quite pure. Are you looking for an estimate of the current price?
Yeah, what are you talking about? That's what I just asked you. That's what I just said to you. Come on, what are you doing?
I apologize for the confusion. A pound of gold is about 14.58 troy ounces. With current prices, 20 to 22 karat gold could be quite expensive, likely over $60,000 to $70,000.
Jesus Christ. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. Price of gold just keeps going up. And the AI just goes up to get more and less stupid. Because what I'm trying to teach here as well is the impracticality of practicality. And the practicality of impracticality when it comes to mindfulness and detachment, when it especially comes to the practice of generosity. And people know that I've recently gone through a transition, I've recently gone through a shift. Some people have recognized that, some people have noticed that. And this conflux and this shifting and this trans moment for me, becoming trans, realizing my identity as a transitionary conflux, is something that is not based in practical ideas. Okay? If me and Jesus and Muhammad were in a room together, what do you think that I would do with Jesus and Muhammad? If me and Jesus and Muhammad were literally in a room together, what do you think that I would do with Jesus and Muhammad? This is Muhammad. This is Muhammad, everybody. I'm practicing Dzogchen anti-prismatic, but don't get on my case because I'm more advanced and developed than you are. Okay? If anything, you should be taking me as a teacher and as a master. All right, who wants to hear a joke? What's the difference between a gay Jew and a trans Muslim? They both know what's good for themselves. What's the difference between a gay Jew and a trans Muslim? Everybody says, don't talk like this. Go back to the Dhamma. Go back to the teachings. Go back to the Dzogchen pointing out instructions. I don't know anything about that stuff. But go back to the path, Dr. Rob. Don't say fuck. Don't say cunt. Don't say pussy. Don't say shit. Don't talk about eating feces, eating your own feces. Don't talk about that. You're a Dhamma teacher, Dr. Rob. Don't talk about having consensual sex with Jesus Christ as he's crucified on the cross. Don't talk about that, Rob, Dr. Rob. That's what they say. And you know what I have to say to that? Good idea. Let's let that go as much as we can. When I say that this is a conflux moment, why don't people understand that? Also, get your stinky fucking cunt ego out of here. Since when did a stinky fucking cunt become some kind of special offering? Get the fuck out of here. This is the Western paradigm that's just the worst of the worst of the worst. You know, I don't know how these women get by, how these men get by. You know, men, women, bullshit. There are no men and women. There is a conflux moment where one can transition from a man or a woman into a kind of ghoul creature, into an ageless ghoul. And that happens when you go so deep in your sadhana and your practice that you break the paradigm, the continuing paradigm in the brain neurons of the gender biology. And you become kind of a transcendental ghoul creature. And then you can influence the holosphere in very profound ways. So for example, I might be a 100-year-old ghoul, but to you, I will appear as a young man. Scary stuff, trust me. I don't know how I got out of there. Well, I do know how I got out of there. Practicing mindfulness and detachment. Okay? And Shelley, be free. You're following one of these ghouls. One of the most powerful and scary ghouls that exist on the planet Earth, Pomnyan Sunim. But you have to let your eyes fall. You have to let the the veil of preconception to fall from the view of the eyes, then you will see his true form, which is a light, a ghoul of light that is beyond good and bad. That's one of the things that people need to understand and consider about like advanced teachers, like advanced spiritual teachers. There's no such thing as good and bad for them. So it's a very different paradigm from what you're used to in yourself and in your life. And there's probably a lot that you would not agree with them about, because you have to label certain things as being bad, certain people as being bad, certain activities as being bad. But for someone who's advanced, there's nothing that exists like that in their experience, because they are practicing automatically, spontaneously, a kind of mindfulness and detachment that's beyond the dualistic frameworks of pain and pleasure, like and dislike, etc. So kind of interesting, kind of deep track. And if you are schizophrenic, all the more reason for you to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha seriously. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You're going to go to a psychiatrist and take some weird medicine? I don't know. I don't know how good that's going to work for you. The more help you need, the more refuge you take. Simple as that. Oh my gosh. Pomnyan Sunyam, Venerable Pomnyan Sunyam, he takes 108 prostrations every morning, probably to the Buddha. I lay in bed and contemplate 108 times whether I want to go back down into hell or to start my day, and pretending to be a spiritual teacher. Because, I mean, think of it like this, right? Let's say, for example, the guy next to me, let's say that he was, in one way or another, quite schizophrenic. And he was able to stay generally, like, okay, or balanced, you know what I mean? Oh, that's great, Shelley. That's beautiful. And, you know what I mean? So he's, let's say he's really schizophrenic, but he's kind of stable enough or whatever. And he needs help because he's fucked up. He's got a lot of weird thoughts and he believes a lot of weird things. So let's say, for example, that for whatever reason, he had like a faith in me as a teacher or as a mentor or as a, you know, God forbid, a guru in some ways, right? It doesn't matter how strong his delusions or beliefs or stories are. That wouldn't fucking bother me in the slightest. It would, there wouldn't be any convinced in me of what he's convinced by. So just because he's convinced or attached to that certain kind of, we got another hack. Was hacked again. What the fuck is that about? Right at the key time. Right when I get going. What the hell is going on? Disconnected, reconnecting. Okay, my friend, my brother, please stop the hacks. Stop the hacks. We don't know. It's just impermanence happens. It's like you fall down and break your knee and you're looking over the field and saying, who did that? Who psychically made me trip? Anyways, what I'm saying. So he has all these beliefs and these ideas. such that he has a right to pick up my air conditioning remote in my house and decide what the temperature is, when he's already been told that my teacher and my guru doesn't like air conditioning, which probably because he subconsciously needs to disrespect me to keep bolstering his ego, he said, I'm going to turn that on. It's up to me, right? So what I'm talking about, right, is that this relationship of taking refuge has inside of it a kind of renunciation or detachment from a willingness to give up your own understanding, which is a kind of detachment, a kind of renouncing. So, in that way, as long as he can generally take care of himself and not act like a total fool and yelling and screaming or doing things like that, he can be totally schizophrenic and he can be totally helped and supported and served by and through my detachment, my uninvolvement, my non-belief. That is the power of taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And we have to be a little bit more open and honest about how stinky our cunt is. Right? And that's when we're actually in a situation where we can start to be a little bit more authentic and build new relationships. You know, there's not anything inherently wrong with you or bad about you because you have a stinky cunt. From what I've heard, from what I've understood, that's just the way that it goes some of the times. You know, talking about the perineum as well. Whatever that area is in the genitalia, the lower pelvis, the anus area, it's a lot of strong smells that are created out of that energy. Okay? It's all energy. So detaching from our own understanding, being willing to give up our own understanding is very powerful, even for someone who's literally schizophrenic and totally crazy. So we can explore being in relationship with each other, not me and you, because I'm not talking to you, right? Through not attaching to our views and our understandings and our perceptions. Then we can go from there. This is being concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, not just being concerned with whatever bullshit that you come up with. No, of course not. Okay? I'm a very natural person, a very uncontrived person. All right? And I've, from my understanding, this is real gold. But it's not gold inside, it's just fucking copper plated with gold or whatever. Okay? I'm not wealthy enough to afford a gold necklace like this. We all have asses, don't we? So that's a place that we can make analogies concerned with the truth, concerned with awakening, concerned with the ending of suffering, the ending of thinking. Why is it wrong to feel neutrality? Why are you so worked up? Why are you so arrogant and empowered and special? Because you feel bored. Who the fuck cares if you feel bored? Why do you care so much that you feel bored? I feel bored. I'm gonna protest at the DMV. I'm gonna protest for you guys. I have to wait at this line. Excuse me, don't you know that I'm bored? And actually, you're saying this to yourself all the time. How dare you be bored? I'm gonna go find something else to do. And you're saying this to your true nature. You're saying this to awareness. You're not allowing that deepening process to take place. Why do people feel that they have an ability to understand this? It's like with something like Buddhism. You may have heard the word Buddhism before. right? Many people have heard that word. You may have heard the word monk before. Okay? Have you ever read a book on Buddhism? Have you ever met a monk? Have you ever talked seriously with a Buddhist? So where is this idea that generally we can understand everything? We cannot. And why is your ego giving so much importance to understanding this? Yeah, you say bro just yaps, but you're just making something up instead of like actually hearing what I'm saying, which you probably agree with. So I'm saying something very specific. I'm not just yapping, I'm saying something very, very specific. Right? What I'm saying is very, very specific, right? Why do we seem to be so addicted? And why do we give so much importance to I understand this? What if you don't understand this? What if you can't put this into a structure of sentences and words? And why is that what if not allowed? Right? Why are you as an ego, as a thinker, as a commenter, as a reactor, as a responder, not allowed to bring up this sense of what if I don't understand what this is? Why is that not allowed? Why is this ego, why is this self not allowed to not think? Carly and Baker, please get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with people? Jesus Christ. You're good, you're good. No, you're not. I got it. Yeah. And fuck Alexis non-duality.
If you're here, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we will be happy to answer your questions, especially Dr. Rob. But please send a super chat for your questions to be answered. Dr. Rob will be back in just 2 minutes. He is taking a break. In the meantime, just be peaceful, relax, and yeah. Shambho. some oil and light this?
You are the oil. Light yourself.
The camera is in the way of my camera.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
I don't know, I'll do it. Shit.
So what's your hope, Shiva, with this whole situation? You think you're going to be like a successful spiritual teacher or content creator or what? What do you think that's going to happen here? What are you hoping to happen? What would your ideal be?
Yeah, spiritual teacher, content creator. That is ideal goal.
If you are sincere in terms of you want to get more connected and more involved, then it's just primarily about a kind of listening and an openness and a receptivity and a communication. But it's not interpersonal in nature. And it's going to take some time, you know, but if you come here and there's a meditation or there's some absurdism or there's some different things going on, then you can really try and be generous in terms of your mindset, where this is something that's real and sincere and something that supposedly you can communicate with directly. Okay, question. I don't understand this mic. Is this how I'm supposed to be? Is this where I'm supposed to put it, right here? So we have a question, and I was thinking the same thing, Norbert, because I was thinking, what would I do if I had to deal with what you consider to be your art every day? You know what I mean? If I had to be around Norbert, what would I say to him to kind of keep his art away from me, or to keep it improving, or whatever? And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is send me money so that I can buy gold jewelry. But there's not actually any first or second thing that comes to my mind here and now. And why don't people just leave me alone? And what is your relationship with silence? What is your relationship with awareness? What is your relationship with not thinking? Okay, why don't you ask yourself that? And what is your relationship with silence? What is your relationship with awareness? What is your relationship with not thinking? That sounds good, huh? Why don't you ask yourself that? Are you glimpsing? Is anybody here starting to glimpse? It's because it is so in one sense it's a big room where you can do whatever you want. So you can cover yourself in shit and piss, and you can eat shit and piss, and you can go wet and wild. Okay, and do whatever you want. Everybody can have sex with each other. Everything can happen. Whatever you want to do can happen. Okay, there's a sense of that. You can do your art. You can do your free expression. But the other sense is that inside of this room are children. Inside of this room are people with disabilities. Inside of this room are people with differing abilities, unique abilities. So, what are you going to do? And our actions seem to spiral in this field of cause and effect, and that seemingness can't be disregarded, because I can't sit here and say, hey, that toilet is nothing. That toilet is what I use to shit in, frankly, factually. And if we can't work with the factually, we can't work with the absolutely, because these interpenetrate into the samadhi. As we read in our text earlier, wisdom is what mind is. So there's here already. Buddha is, samadhi is what Buddha is. So there's no non-factually going on in here. It's a lot of manipulation, it's a lot of contrivance, a lot of personal interest. Well, you should probably be the one that cleans because aren't I the spiritual person? Shouldn't you all figure this out because, I'm meditating or whatever it is that I'm doing? Right? So how are we going to break down that? How are we going to work with that? Well, in this mutual communication of vile human beings, adult human beings, that wouldn't know innocence if innocence appeared before them and dissolved their sense of self. We better be a little bit comfortable with irony and flexible with our vile, selfish desires. and self-fixations and self-centeredness. We better wear that on our sleeves a little bit. And then slowly, through our karmic affinities, whatever they might be, letting things happen naturally. And don't get your hopes up, because this is a kind of hopelessness, frankly. That's Dharma, not fake Dharma. There's two monks, I'm not going to name who these monks are, but some people might know who these monks are. Two young monks by themselves in Seattle that are working to start a monastery or whatever. They want to start a monastery. And what they say to the public is, hey, everybody, all we need is a couple of shacks. Bring your old RV and we'll sleep in it. Okay? But just before we get to that, we need $600,000 in the next 3 months, because $5 million isn't enough for the shacks that we're gonna sleep in. So what I told them is, I said this is a little bit as if they would talk to me, and that's part of the problem. Not me personally, but that principle is. It's not their problem, it's just a problem of dealing with a lot of people. You can't just sit down and talk with everybody. Why don't you guys sleep in the fucking streets? That people aren't even going to be allowed to stay at this fucking monastery besides some monks. And how many Western monks are there in that field? Well, I don't know, but I hope they have good support. So, I'm not asking for anything here, and I'm not trying to create any false promises here. Real spirituality is not something that you would want. And as Westerners, we want the best of the best. We're not going to take some cop-out and the fucking some Swami Indian guy trying to help us with our lives. Are you fucking kidding me? We're Americans. I'm an American. I'm white. You think that black Indian from 2,600 years ago is going to look me down and tell me to be a good person? I want to know what he knows. I want to know what the truth is. And if you want to know what the truth is, what you want to know is the worst suffering that you can possibly imagine. And principles that are so absolute that you would piss your pants in them even being presented to you. Such as someone throws acid on your face. Well, you better be very kind to them. $5 million for hopes and dreams from two young monks that look pretty, that look cute. Shame on Ajahn Nisabo, shame on Ajahn Covillo, shame on Clear Mountain Monastery and their projects. May they be, successful in terms of stay in a fucking tent. Keep staying in that fucking guy's house that you're staying at, Ajahn Nisabo and Ajahn Covillo, because you already said you're fine living in fucking shacks and the monastery's not going to be even letting lay people stay there, and they're not going to be able to stay there over the night. What you're selling is hopes and dreams because your parents are wealthy, because you come from a wealthy background, and Ajahn Nisabo wants a fucking meditation center, wants to be a fucking monastic leader. Not appropriate, not correct. Two young monks are going to be leading all these lay people that when they're untested, there's no examples of them training anybody, training new monks. Anyway, it's not absolute, but I think it's a little bit ridiculous. And they should focus on facilitating some more retreats and in practicing more intensively and teaching more intensively. $6 million for land as young monks like that? Just because you can teach Western people? Western people have no idea about spirituality, okay? They're hungry ghosts. Some fucking homeless bum on the street who's been to one meditation retreat can lead them to a fire and watch them burn. Okay? These people don't know anything about Buddhism or spirituality or real meditation, and you are misleading them and misguiding them and taking advantage of them, and it's a very privileged and archaic approach to Buddhist monasticism in the West. Shame on the both of you. And it's very white fixated and very Asian fixated, and it's a disingenuous trick for those lay people that are supporting you. And may you be successful. Anyone have any ideas about that topic? Radha Siam says, yoga and meditation wisdom from 2 monks, even young monks, can establish a good monastery to save many from the simulation. I totally agree. I completely agree. I'm not saying they don't have my support. I'm just saying, I'd like to talk a little bit about this, and I think that a conversation should be had about this. Just like I joined Alexis Non-Duality's little fucking fake Zoom meeting last night and tried to have a conversation with him and his little boyfriend, or her and her little boyfriend, or whatever the fuck they got going on over there. And at a certain point, the guy Tobias said, "I'm bored, Alexis, mute him." I'm not trying to bring you all into this. I'm just sharing. Because I'm not worthy of a podcast with them. Because what they're doing isn't for black people, okay? All right? Their work is not for black people. It's for middle-aged, middle-class white people in Seattle to fucking get their rocks off, including Ajahn Nisabo and Ajahn Covillo, to get their rocks off on being monastic leaders and being well-established enough to run a monastery and things like that. But what they're doing is very collaborative. It's just, I think that we should have a space to have conversations like this. We should be challenged. Okay? Now, not everybody's coming from the same place. But this is a fundamental reason why I stopped being a monk as well. Because people, even monks, don't care about having space where these real sharings and real listenings can take place with potency. It always has to be the fucking losers that are submitted and subjected and contrived and weakened that are having conversations about bullshit. Nobody is allowing challenging to take place. Okay? Now, is that an absolute principle or rule? No, of course not. That's what I brought up with Alexis. Because she went into some spiel about a non-duality response to what I just said. And I said, are you talking to me or are you talking to the general audience? Because I might very well have non-dual insight and I might come from that kind of perspective. It doesn't mean that I'm going to follow some particular kind of fucking script. So the question is, do you care? Are you willing to volunteer? Are you willing to be involved? Are you willing to listen deeply and share deeply? The question isn't, are you right? And I know, hey, nobody knows more than me the lowness of everybody here. Okay? Don't you worry about that. Brings me to tears. The lowness of this Sangha, the lowness of this community, the lowness of my cultivation. So you don't have to bring that up. I know that. I know that very deeply. Okay? I may not live long. And I don't wish for them to fail. I think it's a really interesting thing to have a conversation about. And that I'm equipped and I'm in a position to have a conversation about that through my experiences. And maybe that's one of our sadnesses then, isn't it? That maybe we have a capacity to help. Maybe we could help, but the cause and conditions are not there for that to happen. So what are you going to do? You could help, but you can't. So what are you going to do? In real life, not in your fantasy, fake, non-duality, disassociation. In real life, in your factual real life. And the secret to these non-duality people is that they will not have a fair and balanced conversation. And then it gets back to artistic integrity, of which they have so little. And this still is not very loud. Maybe it's because I have to turn the gain high because it's just plugged into my computer rather than a audio board. So it's like how much is getting, the electricity is getting pumped is not a lot. So maybe that's why. That is probably why in a certain sense. Listen to the silence in your heart.